Um, the film lightly addresses the male gaze, but not in a way that's like ironic or subversive or progressive. It's just like, you know how guys are, you know how women are. Um, there are two movies that came out in 19. Sorry.
That's a good Seinfeld impression.
I wasn't even trying. That's great.
Let's go.
What a lovely day!
Andy, there's a whole world out there. Jump in.
Can you dig it?
Yeah.
You must always pay strict attention.
I was just completely enamored by it the entire time.
Dude, he did not have to go that hard.
I know, man. Isn't it wild?
The Jared Cast.
So it begins.
Hello, and welcome back to the Jared Cast, the special episode of the Jared Cast. With me, as per usual, the beautiful, always insightful, except for maybe this episode, Mr. Jared Ankanan. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to totally take a dump on a beloved American classic. It's gonna be amazing. Yeah.
And even more importantly, we've got a special guest. If you're watching the YouTube version, he's right here on my screen. He's probably like here or something on Jared's. I don't know. I can't see what you guys are seeing, but the return of Alquan. How you doing, Mr. Alquan?
The return. Welcome back. Here's the sequel. I'm glad to be back. Thank you for having me. I was super excited when you guys asked me again. I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah,
we ran out of friends, so we started recycling.
I mean, reuse, reduce, recycle, man. Why?
Yeah, dude. We just care.
Save the planet.
We're very happy to have you back for a very interesting episode. Probably be a little different in our analysis here because we are shitting on movies that most people love. We're talking overrated films this week. We've got The Graduate, Clueless, and Avengers: Infinity War. I'm hyped for it. I don't want to delay. I've been talking too much off the top. So, Jared, why don't you tell us what we're doing for our top three?
Ooh, this top three was so exciting. It's our top three sidekicks in fiction. We asked Alquan in the group chat what he wanted, and he responded so quickly, and I was like, "Oh shit, okay."
Immediately, like concerningly.
Yeah, sidekicks don't get enough love, so I was like, "This is the time."
Yeah. I appreciate it because a lot of the times the guests are like, "Whenever you guys want," and I'm like. And I'm like, I don't know. What do you want to do for a top three? Just pick a top three.
Yeah, I like taking control, so don't worry about that on my part, at least. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. But yeah, I thought I had mine down pretty quickly, but then I was like, no, wait, this character is like less of a sidekick and more of like a buddy or a partner. And this character, and so I got really picky with it, and I've literally been working on it since we like taking people out and putting people back in. But I'm pretty confident about my list this morning. So I'll kick it off with my number three.
Oh, okay.
My number three is Zeus Carver from Die Hard with a Vengeance. This is my favorite sequel in the Die Hard franchise. No disrespect to the second or the fourth, which are okay, and the fifth, which we do not speak of. But the third movie, I think, is way better because no disrespect to Reginald Val Johnson, but Samuel L. Jackson gives one of my favorite performance of his in this film. It's actually the one that kind of got him his first like big box office success. And I think who's a better sidekick for John McClane than a guy who hates cops? Like,
Yeah.
it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And I love their chemistry. I love the love-hate relationship that blossoms out of it. And he's always like his usual angry self, which I love.
You love the consistency.
Yes, exactly. All right, number three, Zeus Carver.
Nice.
Beautiful.
Is it my turn?
Oh, yeah.
My number three, this one, before I get to like my two big ones that I really like, my number three is R2-D2. That's just more like a fun one.
No.
He doesn't talk a lot like C-3PO. I hate that. R2-D2's
Some would
like,
say not at all.
yeah. R2-D2, he's just like, where are we going? This is where we're going. We got it. I mean, and he survived all Star Wars movies, so you got to give a shout out to that. Got to give a shout out to that. And he's the only one who knew where Luke was. Kind of asked that he didn't tell anyone. Kind of might have to dock a point on that one, but sidekick wise, still pretty good.
That's why he's number 3.
That's why
That's why he's number 3. That's why he's not one of
he would have been my number 4.
Well, yeah, RTD2 definitely got to be my number 3.
Nice, very nice.
I'm dipping back into TV shows for my number 3. I'm always a little degenerate who does that. Even though I feel like I've seen no TV shows compared to most people. I just keep picking the same ones.
You've seen 2 TV shows.
Yeah.
And both of them are Pokemon related.
And I'm about to talk about both of them today. No Pokemon on this one. And no Pokemon and no Genie from Aladdin.
Hey,
so
nice.
look at me expanding.
Hey, there you go.
But what I do have, this being probably who I would want on my side the most out of my list. I think he's the most badass sidekick there is. And that is Sir Bronn of the Blackwater, Lord of Highgarden, Lord of the Paramount of the Reach, Master of Coin, and founder of his house. Fucking badass through and through. One of my favorite characters on Game of Thrones. So he deserves this.
Hell yeah, bro. Hell yeah. One of my favorite highlights of the whole series is his like Saving Private Ryan moment where he's like it's great. It's great.
What a man.
Yeah. My number 2 is it's not a huge curveball, but it's one that I didn't even think about until like a week ago. And it's Nick Frost's character in the movie The World's End. His name is Andy Knightley. What I love about this character is he's an interesting reversal when you compare him to the hero with Simon Pegg, because in the first 2 movies in that trilogy, Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, he's kind of the messy character, and Simon Pegg's like the one that has to straighten him out. But in this one, it's the complete other way around, and he's. I also love that he's the muscle, but only when he drinks. I love that he could like take out multiple robots with just his bare hands, and it's so much fun to see him just go off like that. I think he at one point like wields 2 chairs at the same time to take out 2 different robots. It's great. It's great.
Yeah, underrated Edgar Wright movie, honestly.
Yeah.
I agree. Nice. My number 2. Got to go old school on this one. And some people might not say he's a sidekick, but I think when you finish the whole movie, he's definitely a sidekick. Mr. Slugsworth from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. This guy goes out. He's like, all right, Mr. Wonka, I got you. I'm going to find out who all the fake people are, find out who are the bad interns here, and I'm gonna find them for you. And I'm like, that's pretty smart. Business-wise, you got to find out who's going to ruin the company. And I mean, it works pretty well. I mean, no one sees it coming until the end. And I think that's a good sidekick to have. Someone undercover, because you never know.
Hell yeah.
Definitely.
There are a few spin-offs that I want more than a Slugworth stealing people's candy recipes and shit. Like a Slugworth heist movie would be fucking lit.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Dude, I'm sold. You
steal all this chocolate, and then they take it back to the hideout. Mr. Wonka's just waiting there. And they're like, what's going on here?
Let's pitch it to Roald Dahl.
Oh, man.
Did you know, so, tangent, you know Roald Dahl? You know how he was in, like, the military?
No.
I did not know that.
No. Yeah, he was in the military, and his job was to sleep with all the enemy's wives and, like, get their secrets and shit. That shit was mind-blowing. I found that out this week.
That's pretty inspiring.
The writer.
I would also watch that movie.
Oh, man. Like, that's crazy. That's like, so like Black Widow retires and then writes Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah. James and the Giant Peach was actually inspired after Churchill's wife.
Oh.
Anyway,
my
number 2. We've we've been doing good, not having repeats here. And that's going to continue, but we came pretty damn close. Because my number 2 is Danny Butterman from Hot Fuzz, played by Nick Frost.
Hey.
Sidekick 2, another Simon Pegg character. Yeah, I knew I was going to pick him in one of those 3 movies. He's my favorite comedy sidekick in like cinema. The closest that comes was probably I'm blanking on the name. The dude from Singing in the Rain, Cosmo. He's
Oh
hilarious
yeah,
too.
yeah.
So he almost made the list. But Danny's got a special place in my heart, and so I went with Hot Fuzz.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
I love it. And and I love that he comes full circle with the Point Break shooting in the air. So good. Um, my number 1 is an interesting parallel with the previous appearance of Alquan on the Jared cast, because my number 1 movie teacher was Morpheus from The Matrix, and so my number 1 movie sidekick is of course Trinity from The Matrix. I mean, dodge this, bro. Like, she's great in every scene that she's in. She opens up the movie and she like establishes all these like really crazy things. Like, wait, what? Did she get hit by a car? And she like jumps like through the building, and she like has guns. And why is she telling herself to get up? And like, and then like she's at every point of at so many different points in the movie, she pulls the rug out from under the audience's feet. And it's easy to take for granted because so many people in our generation have seen The Matrix over and over again over the years. But I just watching it the first time, like I remember thinking like, wow, this is crazy. And a lot of that's because of this character and their writing. And they actually like they have a lot of good sidekick moments with Neo as well. Literally bringing him back to life, like super what's it, Sleeping Beauty style. I like it. It's cool, and
I hope
it's
every time I come on here, you find a way to use the Matrix.
Now he has to.
oh man. Okay, all right, we'll do it.
I'm just gonna think of what's something he could use the Matrix for. No, my number
Bold of
1
you to assume we're letting you back.
right?
Oh man.
My number 1, and probably kind of same. I thought of this as soon as I like said sidekick. It's got to be Hermione Granger from Harry Potter.
Hell yeah.
I mean, honestly, I don't know where those 2 boys would be at without Hermione. Like anytime they need something, at least a little bit studious, is like, well, we better go ask Hermione. She got the time spell.
Fucking nerd.
Right, fucking nerd. God damn, bro. No. When they need to go back in time, Hermione's the one who knows how to do it. When in the last movie, Ron's having a little temper tantrum and insecurity issues. She's there for the team. She stays with it. She always knows the spell. She always knows like anything. So I mean, she's like a walking textbook for them. And I mean, it works perfectly for the team dynamic. Hermione Granger, number 1 sidekick, probably all time in respective universe, but
Ooh. Ooh.
No.
already hitting with the bold claim.
We haven't started the debate yet.
I know we haven't even started. I know. Let me hold that one. I'll write it down though.
For my number 1, my favorite character arc in all of television happens to be a sidekick, and so I had to include him. I can't say too much about why I love it because I don't want 0 spoilers, because I know for a fact we'll be talking about it eventually. And that's Jesse Pinkman from Breaking Bad.
Ooh.
Just a perfect sidekick character. So much development throughout the entire series, and I love it so much.
Yeah.
So I have to go my boy Jesse.
Hell yeah.
That's a good pick. That's a really good pick, actually.
Yeah.
Probably
Some
better
would
than
say
Hermione.
the best sidekick.
Yeah.
I don't know. Mine can dodge bullets, but we can. Mine swings off of helicopters and stuff.
Oh.
But I don't know.
Kind of falling into their one thing, just action. But like,
Yeah, I mean-
Mine kissed the Messiah back from the dead. Just saying.
who hasn't?
What?
I mean, Hermione basically erases her parents' memory just to help out the team. I don't know if. Oh.
Mine's real good at cooking meth.
I guess you win. I don't know. Is
I
that a
don't
win?
know.
Is that,
That's
is
just-
that a
I think it's a
plus?
win.
Did you just make yourself lose or win? I don't know.
That's gonna be the theme of the episode.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, that's
Anyway, shall we get started?
yeah. Let's get
All
started.
right.
I'm hella down.
Let's do it.
All right. My first movie for movies that we believe are overrated, or as I said I think I also said / don't get it, is Clueless.
Yeah.
Now, before I get into Clueless, many of you have probably...
We will go to Jared's reads bad
Oh,
reviews
yes,
of movies.
Jared bad reviews,
Because
please.
It's funny and it makes him laugh.
I saw his face. He was doing a Roadrunner spin, getting ready to interrupt you.
I was like, where is it? Where is it? where can I cut it? I feel like this episode could be we read bad reviews of movies that we're watching because it's funny and it makes us laugh and stuff. Because all of these takes are pretty much going to be our takes. So.
Pretty much. They might just say my point for me. I should just probably delete this whole speech I got. Just let them talk for me.
Cool.
Bad reviews.
Yeah. This one's a doozy. It's it's a doozy. I had to shave this one down by like half because there were 950 words before. So this motherfucker wrote like a 5-paragraph essay about why Clueless is the worst film ever made.
Trying to meet the word requirement.
It's still real long, and so I apologize for that. But I'll try my best to get through it. This comes from Amok910 saying, I'm clueless about why this film was made. He gave it a 1 out of 10. A warning, spoilers off the top. So what was this movie about? I mean, I just watched it and I still don't know. I was told it was a rich snob who took a loser girl and turned her pretty and cool. Now it is easy to tell where it would go and end up, but I still thought it was a nice waste of time. Boy, was I wrong. Or it would be a nice waste of time. Boy, was I wrong. Firstly, the acting is terrible. It really made me feel ill. Every time the lead role opened her lopsided, annoying mouth, I wanted to go over to 1995 and shut her trap with duct tape. Everything she said was so every note to scale. Her voice went up and down in a way that made you want to rip her voice box out. Then there was the plasters. Everyone getting plastic surgery band-aids on their face everywhere. Eventually you think to yourself, okay, I get that they're in California, but not everyone has to be as fake and hideous as the main character. And of course, now we get to the worst part, the plot, or plots, or string of random events, if you can call them that, all stuck together into an hour and a half of composition of boredom. So first she fixes this girl up, then she disappears, then she goes to a party where they all do drugs, then she gets sexually harassed, then held at gunpoint, something which she never notifies her dad or the police about for some bizarre reason. Then she goes to the disco with a guy who turns out to be gay. Then her ex-stepbrother starts to love her. Seriously, that actually happens. I mean, if this was brought to court, it'd be listed of incest in some description, right? No, I cut too much out of that. Oh, and one last complaint. Are we really expected to believe that someone would go to the new girl for sex advice? She'd obviously never slept with anyone. I don't care what the movie said. Why did the lead girl drag her around to so many guys if she wasn't a virgin? She can obviously do it herself.
No.
Alquin's like, and done.
And thank you for reading the review I actually wrote. No.
It's all about her lopsided, annoying mouth.
Oh man, that was kind of harsh.
Weird personal attack.
I know. I'm
Yeah,
like,
dude.
oh, I didn't think about the mouth shape. That's interesting. I'll have to add that in my next review.
Why they gotta be mean to Alicia Silverstone, man? She never hurt anybody. She's just Alicia Silverstone.
People like being mean, man. It's what it is.
True.
Speaking of mean, no. I mean, Clueless it's a teen movie. We all know teen movies. We all love them. We all have our favorites. Juno, Mean Girls. Not Clueless for me though. I love how the review said, I don't know why this movie was made. I'll tell you why the movie was made. Because in 1993, Dazed and Confused was come out. Somebody watched that and they said, never show high schoolers like that ever again. So they did the opposite and they just showed perky, happiness, great vibe, California, Beverly Hills, 1995, Clueless. I kind of agree. Here are my things with the movie. I enjoy it. I think the movie is a vibe movie. I think people who watch it want that like 90s vibe, especially that like Beverly Hills, California. That's around that time, that's when like that was really big. We got Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. We got, I mean, that whole California, Hollywood is being depicted pretty well in that time period. You can argue that's when it like starts, at least how we see California and everything. But I think that's personally why most people like the movie. I kind of agree on there is obviously a plot, you know, Cher is trying to do good deeds, you know, she's trying to be a good person because she thinks it's good, but really she's just kind of manipulating everyone's life, doing the fake letters, which is all good and well. I mean, the teachers love each other in the end, but it is kind of a string of plots. And my only problem with it is it feels like a new element is added each time rather than just building upon what's already established, like in the first act. It is kind of weird how the new girl is like away, and then for the next like 10-15 minutes, it's like, let's see if Cher can lose her virginity. Psych, he's gay. It is the movie's good. The movie's good. I do think it's overrated. And I know Brown Jared loves Clueless. He said that to me in the message. But I personally feel I can see why it's big. You know, it definitely start the teen movie trend that we see there on after is definitely like the mother of them all. But I feel like other movies do it better. Me personally, that's just me. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it.
I guess we could compare this to Rotten Tomatoes as our benchmark. They gave it a 81%, which I guess would translate to an 8.1 out of 10. What would be your rating? How underrated is it? Or overrated is it?
I think it's like, so if they're saying 81, I say like 20 to 15 points, a little too much. I think, yeah. I mean, I'd probably give it like a 60 or like 70 at the most, as for like respect and everything for like the sort of storytelling and genre that it starts. It doesn't really start the genre. I shouldn't say that. There's been teen movies beforehand. We all seen 16 Candles. We've all seen, you know, all those high school teen movies beforehand. But it definitely starts that like cool girl mentality in films. I just don't feel like it's strong all throughout. And I feel like I noticed most of the problems of the story in the end, like when Cher's having her little speech and she's talking about, you know, maybe I wasn't the best friend. Or, you know, maybe everyone has their own things in life that they like to do. Like, there's a part she says where she's talking about, oh man, what's her friend's name? Played by Stacey Dash.
Dion.
Yes. She talks about how her and her boyfriend, she's like, oh, they're actually like super sweet together, even though we see them fighting and all that. But we never actually see them sweet together in the film until Cher says that. And I'm like, oh, okay. Thanks for showing me that. And then, I mean, it's in the ending, it doesn't wrap up well. I feel like the story just has a lot of like chapters. And then the ending is like, okay, how do we put these chapters together? But I just don't feel like it was melded well together. Yeah. Like Mean Girls or Juno, which are two of my favorite.
I think I fall a little more in the middle, so I guess I'll go next and then let Jared rip us both apart. I have lukewarm feelings about it. I didn't love it, but I didn't dislike it.
Yeah, no, it's not.
I think it is a little overrated, and I don't get why it gets as much love as it does. Granted, this is also my first watch, so I don't have like the nostalgia. I didn't see it growing up or anything, and so it might have just come at the wrong time for me as well. That said, I think it did some things great. I think the casting was fantastic. Pretty decent acting across, especially Ty. I think she killed it in this.
Absolutely.
Pretty damn good character development with Cher. They humanize this Barbie doll of a person by the end. Granted, it's a little rush. It's not a perfect arc to get there, but I think they do a good enough job. I wasn't expecting them to do it, so
Yeah.
I'll give them props for that. Also, pretty damn good writing. There were a lot of funny jokes in here that I laughed at. Cher and Dion being both named after singers who turned into sitcom stars, or whatever the line was. Hilarious.
Yeah.
My favorite line comes from the inconceivable debate teacher himself,
Oh yeah.
saying, "Can the suicide attempts please be postponed to next period?" Which is not an okay thing to say, but I loved it. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Granted, there were also some things I didn't like as much. It was incredibly dated from the get-go, which, I mean, 90s movies often are. But it was a little distracting for me. I don't think it leaned into the satire enough. It kind of like grazes the edge of being satirical, but doesn't quite commit fully like I wanted it to. The VO was super annoying. I hate the line "as if" so much. Every time she said it, I wanted to rip my own voice box out of my throat. And it felt a little empty for a lot of the movie, mostly in like the first and second act. I think it relied on the satire but wasn't committing. So it was kind of in this weird in between stage that was kind of struggling to find its footing, I guess would be a good way to put it.
Mm.
Also, the incest thing is kind of weird.
Yeah, I try to avoid it because I'm like,
it's not like we know it's not actually incest, but like
Yeah.
it's still kind of
it's.
uncomfortable.
But the fact that you have to say that, I'm like, why even write that in there? But yeah, I agree. I'm glad you brought up Ty. I forgot Ty. Ty and Travis, probably my favorite part of the movie.
Travis was killer.
Honestly,
too.
that could have been the movie, Ty and Travis, and I'd be like, this is
Yeah.
the best
Yeah.
movie. But
Yeah.
I also love Travis's speech on why he's tardy. And he's like giving a shout out to like McDonald's. He's like, without which I would never be tardy. And I'm like, that is hilarious. There are a lot of funny lines, but I guess they don't just keep me satisfied throughout.
Yeah. I gave it a 6.5 also. So like probably a little higher than Alquan, but I think it's on the money.
Yeah. I gave it an 8.7. I love this movie
You
so
also
much.
gave Paris, Texas like a 9 out of nowhere.
I no, hey, Paris, Texas is an excellent movie, and these are personal enjoyment scores.
Yeah.
And I love, I stand by my Paris, Texas rating. I don't give a shit. I think you and Jason are just squares. No, I'm just kidding.
As if.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I watched a film adaptation of the movie Emma, and then I read the book at a very young age, so I was very familiar with the source material for Clueless. But I didn't watch Clueless until I was like a junior in high school, and I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. And I actually love, I love the way they handle Jane Austen's material. Jane Austen was, she wasn't a heavy-handed satirist, and you know because she wanted to make stories that were like entertaining stories, but also just ever so slightly poked fun at the world around her. And I think it's the same exact thing with this film. I think it also has a lot of like really underrated curveballs when you look at like rom-com history, even just like now, the way gender roles and the way romantic couplings are presented now. A lot of the women in those movies have less agency than they do in here. Cher and Dion talk like Beverly Hills chicks, but they're self-sufficient, they're literate, they're analytical, and they're strong characters just as themselves. I think the writing and the whole visual aesthetic of the movie, I think it is intentionally supposed to be just a purely 90s movie. So I don't mind that it's dated at all. I think it's a perfect time capsule, both in the dialogue, in the slang, in the really like kind of obvious in your face rom-com tropes, and in the materialism themes, and like the overall question in the movie like being like what actually makes you happy, and also about the kind of what's it called, hubris of the typical hero. And I also love Paul Rudd in the movie. I think he's great, being himself. uh, yeah, I agree that Brittany Murphy is one of the standout performances as Ty. Ty, when Ty comes in, it's a much better movie at 22 minutes. Great chemistry with the girls. There's a really obvious contrast, but it doesn't feel like I'm being hit over the head with it. It feels like, oh, these are people from completely different worlds, and so that's why she's looking up to Cher. It's not because, oh, she doesn't automatically think that because she's had sex before that she's better or worse than them. She just feels alone, and she's grateful that these people are showing her around. Um, and I think she's really cute with Travis as well. I think for me, I actually really like the ending. I think for me, the first act is the weaker part. Um, the ending to me, like, there are so many little details in the movie. This is my fifth watch. There are so many little details in the movie that, where Cher is like so close to having the epiphany that she has at the end, and she just doesn't see it because she's too arrogant, or because she sees the world only in her, like, from her like point of view, and doesn't try to step into other people's shoes, which is totally true of the Emma character in Jane Austen's original work. Um, yeah, I know it's not for everyone, and I know that's probably why a lot of people either are like meh about it, or they like really love it. Um, I think a lot of like I think there's a lot of love for it. For people in the LGBT community, because they just are obsessed with straight women who are so extra, uh, and I think this movie has that in spades. So yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I understand where you guys are coming from, and I totally like. If I had seen it today for the first time, or like this week for the first time, I might feel the same way as Jared. I don't know. What was your first experience with it, Alquan? So that we
This is my
Let's get to
third
the
time.
bottom.
This is my third time watching it.
okay.
I think I first watched it, I want to say like a month after I graduated college.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
like
Yeah,
like
yeah,
my
yeah.
girlfriend was like, "You've never seen Clueless?"
Oh, okay.
And that usually always sets me up for like failure in terms of like my
Right.
expectations for a movie. Like if someone's like, "You've
Yeah.
never seen blank," then my brain is like, "Oh, this is gonna be a bomb movie." Um, but then I watched it a second time by myself, and I did enjoy it. But again, like I think I just don't feel like the 80%
Yeah.
is all. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people connect to it at a younger age than ours. So I think that's another big factor. If you're
Yeah.
already past that high school phase,
Yeah,
if you're
if you're already 23, don't watch this movie. You may
yeah,
not enjoy it as much.
well, so much of the movie is about Cher realizing that the high school world is fake, and that it's all for nothing, and that it doesn't really matter. And so, uh, if you're in high school, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty
Yeah.
cool thing to watch. But if you're already out of it, then it's like, I knew that. Why didn't you know that?
No shit. Don't play.
So
Obviously.
yeah, I totally understand where you guys are coming from with this movie. I actually like the voiceover, especially during the driving test. I think it's so funny because like
The
way
driving
they,
test one was funny.
Driving
yeah,
test,
yeah,
yeah.
because it's a key scene because it's a great way of like making a character fail really hard, in order to learn a lesson. And I just love the way it's edited with, um, like, while she's in the middle of a sentence, the driving instructor's looking at her, like watching and waiting for her to actually say something, even though we can hear her talk.
Yeah.
No, the
I also
driving,
really love the
driving
yeah,
test scene was definitely a good scene.
yeah. I also love the visual style in general. I think it pops off the screen even today. There's like these, it's a great '90s look. There's a lot of unpredictable color palettes that are all over the place.
Yeah.
Um, for some that
Everything's
may
like
be
bright.
for some that may be to the detriment of the movie. For me, I like it, especially after watching The Graduate, which is all brown and shit. God,
Hey,
okay,
wait to get your shots.
wait.
Otherwise, I'd mention that in both movies, every character looks 30.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. What else did you want to talk about, Alcorn? It's your
Oh,
movie.
so the incest thing, every time I watch it, I just can't.
Right.
I think when I first watched it, I think that's what kind of like put the dent in my
Yeah,
experience watching it. So when I watched it again for this, I was like, why did they add this? I looked it up. Apparently, what's the director's name again? Amy Heckler. Her grandparents were actually like that. Like that relationship.
Okay.
Her parents were actually like step siblings or something like that. So for her, it was like, yeah, why wouldn't I have a
In every family.
yeah.
Yeah. So in Emma, the characters, they basically just say like, "Oh, we grew up together," and that's how they and they both have a good relationship with Emma's dad.
Yeah.
But it's weird. It is weird that they make them have that. Because they do have to say 3 times, "You're not my brother."
Yeah.
Like, which is like,
I've seen that movie before.
yeah.
Okay.
All right.
You're funny.
Age restriction on this episode.
When I watched
too.
the movie, though, I was like, "Is this where it comes from? Is this where the?"
Yeah.
It started tropes, man. It's
Yeah,
an
I was like-
influential film.
And then I thought about the age group that would grow up watching this. I'm like, I guess it kind of fits.
yeah. Exactly.
I think it's canon.
I think it's canon.
Yeah. I agree that it's weird. I think what's even weirder to me is that he's 19 and she's 16.
Yeah, he's a college student. Yeah.
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 Or is he 18? I don't know. It doesn't matter.
I looked it up.
Either way, kind of pedophilic.
I don't know if it's official, but I looked it up and they said he's a freshman who's 18.
Oh, right. Okay.
But
I was a
even
19
still,
freshman. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, it doesn't deter too much. But every time it's kind of like brought up again, you're like, oh.
It's just weird and kind of unnecessary because there's so many easy ways to give them the same relationship and just have that not be it. But
I don't know. Some people might argue that's what kind of gives it its extra umph.
Right.
But who knows?
But
Who knows? But, like, it has
it's a risk.
Yeah.
Paul Rudd is hot. Who cares?
Yeah, I'd hit Paul Rudd.
right?
Yeah, I stay up late doing lawyer work with Paul Rudd. For sure.
One of the biggest laughs for me, because I always forget that this happens, is when he's reading Nietzsche by the pool and trying to grow a goatee. I'm like, dude, I hate that person. I know that person. I know dozens of that person, and I hate all of them. Like, because for me, I say this all the time. For me, like the worst college students. Right, so here's film majors. We're pretty bad. There's everybody else. There's film majors, there's theater majors, and then philosophy majors are way up here.
Yeah, I think I agree.
Yeah,
with that.
I don't argue with that.
Yeah, because theater majors are just film majors turned up to 11. Like they're not as pretentious, but man, are they in your face?
Yeah, dude.
I feel like film students are pretty manageable until you bring up a movie. Then it's like, oh
right,
no.
yeah. Whatever you do,
and here we are.
Why did someone bring up Citizen Kane? Shut up.
You can say anything you want. You have total freedom of speech. Just don't say the words pulp and fiction.
Not even just one of them.
Yeah, not even just one of them. That's already too much.
Yeah, it's hard getting through a film program without saying the word fiction, but here we are.
Oh shit. Okay.
But yeah, no, I mean, I watch it again. It's a good movie, but I still think it's overrated.
I changed my mind. Yes.
Yeah, you're really backing down from your guns here.
Oh no,
like
I mean,
it is both good and overrated.
It's
So,
good
like...
for like what it is, but I don't think it deserves like the amount of like hype it gets.
Yeah. I definitely know people who've like seen this 20 plus times, and I'm like a little worried for them. But like I'm not as obsessed with this movie as a lot of other people, but I do love it. Probably like definitely more than you guys do.
I just skipped straight to the party scene, and I'm like, haha, that's funny.
The party scene's great.
Favorite scenes?
Oh yeah, favorite scene, party scene, probably. Party scene. Driving test scene is good too. Yeah. Oh, and then definitely tardy speech.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Damn, you really just went out here and stole all mine. I literally wrote those three. Ty telling Cher that she likes Josh is a nice human moment, and it
Mhm.
kind of kicks off Cher's change in a way. So I like that scene too. And then I also wrote not the freeway scene. Because that, I don't, they're just screaming for like 5 minutes when there's zero danger at
I'm
all.
like, just go straight.
Yeah, and she is. There's just a semi truck a little closer than normal.
Where do they even pull off at the end right there?
I don't know.
'Cause
I'm
they're
like
still-
trying to figure out the
scene.
angle, and I'm like, where are they? Are they still on the freeway?
I
Did they
think
just
they're
exit and just stop off like the
yeah.
ramp? I'm like, what?
I think they're in between the freeway and the off ramp
Oh,
for
okay.
some reason.
Okay.
I don't know.
It's so weird.
Yeah, man.
Ugh.
What else you got?
That's it. That's
That's
literally
it.
all my.
Okay.
That's the only scenes that I saw value
Oh, damn.
in. No,
Um,
not the only scenes I saw value, but I can't say
No.
without
No.
being incorrect that any others are my favorites.
yeah. I think for my favorite scenes, I also love Travis's tardy speech, especially the music under it. I love the soundtrack to this. It's the perfect cringe '90s soundtrack. Um, and I love that somehow they were able to make Coolio not cool just by having these kids dance to him, and it's so bad. It's so bad.
Yeah.
Elton doing the thing with his arm. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
shut up, bro. I hate Elton.
Yeah, Elton, terrible character. Also lost some points for Elton in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're supposed to hate him, but you know, yeah.
Well,
I love
make a good
Murray as
villain, too.
I love Murray shaving his head. I thought that was pretty funny. Um, he also has a great line where he's I disagree that about with Dion and Murray at the end, because you do see like moments when they in the wide shots, especially when when they look at each other, and no, and the focus is not off them. And I think the director actually intentionally does that, because there's your eye is attracted to Cher and Ty in those shots, but in the meantime, Murray and Dion are laughing and smiling at each other. Um, and I think it's cool. I think it's cool the way that that's set up, like kind of underhandedly. Um, but I forget the scene that I was going to mention. Oh, never mind. Yeah, I didn't write it down. Shoot.
Oh, go ahead.
The ska nightclub. I really like that. It was really bad, and I love the guy who's on the stage, and he's headbanging in a plaid suit. He doesn't even have an instrument. He doesn't have a microphone. He's just there to look angry
That's
with.
ska, baby.
He's there to look angry with his spiky hair. It's great. It's great. I love it. He's a cool guy. I love that they confirm visually that Christian is gay, because it's again playing into that, like, Cher, it's so obvious that you're wrong, and yet she still doesn't get it, and hence the title of the movie. And I love the moment by the fountain when she finally has her epiphany, and you got Celine Dion all by myself, and then the fountain. But right after that, there's a dolly movement, right, like that goes to her center frame, and then they cut to all the other previous, not all the other, but a lot of other previous dolly movements in the movie, and it works really well for me visually. Yeah, that's it. Groovy. Anything else you wanted to bring up, or?
One thing I don't know why I just randomly thought about this.
Mm.
I hate how Ty keeps mentioning her and Elton's song.
Oh
She's
yeah.
like, oh, this is the song that was like, she brings it up when they're in the restaurant, and I don't even remember the song. She's like, oh, this is the song. That's probably the point.
Yeah,
But I'm
yeah.
just like, what? What are you talking about? And then when she
Remember the
and then when she goes back
So
to Cher's
stupid.
house and she's like, I want to destroy the tape of the song, and I'm like, she's still, I don't even remember this song. Why is it still keep coming up?
It's so stupid. I love it. Yeah, it's like It's a
But
really like
I know it's to show that like that teens in that age everything you hold so dear and everything. But I mean to me that's how I took it. But it's still I was like this is.
yeah. I think that's no. I agree with you, and I think it's super cartoonish and over the top, and I like it a lot. Shall we move on?
I'm done.
Cool. What did we say was next? The Graduate.
Yes, sir.
All right.
And before we do,
Cool.
Bad reviews.
it's time for another installment of Jared reads poorly written reviews of movies that we're watching because it's funny and it makes him laugh and stuff. This one comes from Lil Bala 08, calling it one of the dumbest movies of the millennium. 1 out of 10.
Yep.
And it goes as thus. A young kid trying to bang a hot older woman. He asks her if he could kiss her on the lips, touch her butt, and have sex with her, and she lets him. Dustin Hoffman should be ashamed. This film is utter American mainstream filth, padded with footage from Planet of Dinosaurs and horrible jokes. This is definitely one to miss. The acting is atrocious as well, and while it isn't as bad as Chick Boxer, what movie can be, this is still pretty awful and repugnant stuff. I was hoping for something so bad it's good, but it's worse. Its 90-minute runtime feels like an eternity, and you will likely be cursing life, so you do yourself a huge favor and move on. Skip this crappy film. There's nothing to see here. And then there's another paragraph where he says, my grade F DVD extras, 17 behind the scenes featurettes, 7 minutes into the black featurette, Jessica Mills reporting, stills gallery, and other trailer.
What does that even mean?
I know. I was like, am I missing
He's just
something?
he's like, by the way, if you didn't know what the DVD extras were here, here's just some information for you.
I feel like you were reading like an
Amazing.
insurance policy or something. I'm like, what?
Amazing. Yeah, that's the definition of being constructive. Oh man, The Graduate. Oh man, what a movie, man.
Seventh best movie of all time, according to some list.
According to the AFI 100 years of 100 movies,
Oh,
or
wow.
100 movies of
Wow.
100 years. They put it at number 7. I remember being shown this film in film school and thinking like, that was it, really? And like I could see why it was good and why like I was like okay, but I think being told that it's good and then and then watching it is one thing, but then just watching it on your own on your own accord, or watching any movie really on your own accord is completely something else. And for me, this is one of the most unpleasant experiences I've had watching a movie in a very long time. Um,
Damn.
I think it's the film is incredibly boring, and it's not really funny at all. The slowness and the ennui of Benjamin's life after graduation is understandable. It's certainly relatable to me, but and he's bored and he's insecure, so the movie is boring and uneasy. I get it. I get that's why why people feel like it's authentic, but for me it doesn't work at all. I have no sympathy for someone who gets high paying job offers right out of college, because I've been on a job hunt since I graduated, and it's not fun. And it reminds me of the first. Oddly enough, it reminds me of the first 20 minutes of Scott Pilgrim, where it's like I like the characters kind of drifting aimlessly, and I get it, I understand. But it's without the fun and without the cool music. And none of the jokes really work for me in this movie. There's maybe one moment that I really laughed, and I think and we could talk about it later because I think it's my favorite scene. I like Simon and Garfunkel, but Honestly, like, masterful folk music, brilliant, iconic song, "The Sound of Silence," but, no disrespect at all to Paul Simon, but the way the music is used in the edit here is so atrocious. I think they play Scarborough Fair for 11 minutes straight, and it's the worst Simon and Garfunkel song I've ever heard. It's not even that cool. Um, this movie's credited with being one of the best and one of the earliest blueprints for the coming of age film. And I do credit it with that. Like a lot of coming of age movies make overt or covert references to it. But when you take these themes, these major themes in The Graduate, like drifting with no purpose, um, sexuality, and gender roles, and finding and just finding some sort of direction in life. I think when you look at films like A Brighter Summer Day, A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, Scott Pilgrim, Lady Bird, even Rebel Without a Cause, which came out 13 years before this movie, I think I think that's a better coming of age film. I think it was great in 1967. I think a lot of kids watched it in the theater and got turned on by Mrs. Robinson, and then they grew up and voted for it to be the seventh best movie of all time because of that. I think that I don't think there's any other reason to keep it in like the grand hall of fame, especially in a genre like this. I think even like an average movie like Skate Kitchen, which it's above average. Skate Kitchen's a coming of age film, and I still think it's way better than this movie. There are tacky zooms throughout the film. Dustin Hoffman is good, but he looks 30, and it hurts the whole movie, for me at least, because he looks the same age as Mrs. Robinson. I don't care if that's like if there's a theory that's intentional. It doesn't work for me at all. I think, especially like the biggest failure in the movie is the way they waste Mrs. Robinson by not giving the character any agency at all. I think Anne Bancroft is the shit. I think she's a great actress. This underwritten character is made iconic purely because of her acting ability. I think Catherine Ross is wasted as Elaine. She has nothing to do in the film. And the supposed iconic hallway shot of her saying goodbye, Benjamin. I think it sucks. I think it's ugly. It doesn't look good. Um, the film lightly addresses the male gaze, but not in a way that's like ironic or subversive or progressive. It's just like, you know how guys are, you know how women are. Um, there are two movies that came out in 19. Sorry,
That's a good Seinfeld impression.
I wasn't even trying. That's great. Like Bonnie and Clyde came out the same year, and that's there's no excuse, I think, for that kind of a thing. Some Like It Hot came out, I think, before this. I'm not sure, but that's even better. I know hipsters love the color palette, the whites and the tans and the grays and the browns. Not a big fan. I do love the end scene. I understand why people like it, but because I'm so done with the movie up until that point, I'm like, whatever, man. I don't care. Yeah. Let me see if I'm done. Yeah, the film had made $104.9 million in 1967. So adjusted for inflation, that's over $800 million. 7 Academy Award nominations. It has an 87% of critics on Rotten Tomatoes liked it. It's got an 83 on Metacritic, citing which means it has virtually universal acclaim, and it was preserved by the U.S. National Film Registry. So this means a lot to a lot of people, but I don't give a shit.
What would you rate it? Did you say your rating already?
3.3.
3.3. Damn.
Yeah, this is my lowest score to date.
Damn.
I hated it more than The Jungle Book.
And The Jungle Book's racist as fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
Jared hates boredom more than racism.
Maybe The Graduate should have been a little racist then.
Yeah, then you would have loved it.
Well, The Jungle Book was like good to look at, like
That's true.
and they had one good song, or they had
They got a
Sorry.
couple good songs.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
My bad. Yeah, I forgot about the other song that you liked. Okay. I'll hand this off to you guys. Can take. I don't care who goes next.
I guess I'll go. This was my first time watching it, actually.
oh,
I have always heard about it, usually in like meme format or always, "Are you seducing me, Mrs. Robinson?" And then once I realized this is the movie we were watching, I was like, "Oh, finally, this gives me an excuse to watch it." I was a little, I was a bit disappointed. I'm kind of meh. I'm kind of in the middle, mainly because this is my first time, so I didn't know it was like I definitely didn't know it was not fucking, sorry, number 7 of all time. Like,
Yeah.
I definitely definitely doesn't deserve that. But I appreciated like I appreciated more so for the editing. Like I like the scenes where he's like getting out the pool and he's like transitioning to the next room. I think those are like nice edits. The
Yeah.
story to me, I think I wanted more of like that graduate mentality, not so much the romance part. And I know that's like a big part in in everything in the movie, but I was a little excited when it's about a graduate, and I felt the same. But I also was not getting top job offers a week after, or a really nice foreign shift car right after. So part of me was like, I don't know what this guy's complaining about. What is no flank, but it is boring. And Simon and Garfunkel, I don't know why they played the whole album. I feel like they're playing the whole album throughout the movie. I agree on that also. I don't know, and they kind of repeated songs too, which to me is like a big no unless it's like a theme song or
Right.
it's a song that kind of brings it's like a circle throughout the story, but it didn't feel like that at all to me.
Yeah.
When they replayed the Darkness My Old Friend song. But
Sound of Silence.
yeah. See, I'm not they didn't but I do kind of like Dustin Hoffman's awkwardness though. I
Yeah.
did like his acting. I like his
Mhm.
awkwardness, and I like the scene where he tells the parents he's gonna marry the girl, and they're like, "Well, have you talked to him?" And he's like, "No." He's like, "Well, does she even know?"
Yeah.
No, actually, she doesn't even like me. And then he's just like, "What?" Like those, I did appreciate that for some reason. I really did like his acting,
Yeah.
but it is a boring film, and I feel it was a little long, even though it's only an hour 45. I think it just felt long because it is kind of slow. It is pretty slow.
Yeah. And
No.
like I've watched movies that are like intentionally slow, like movies that are trying to like make you like meditate on like a vase in the middle of the frame, and like that's cool because you're trying to do that, but this movie wants me to care about a person that I don't care about, and I get bored.
Yeah. What would you give it, Alquan?
What did Metacritic give it, or what did
It's 83 on Metacritic, and 87% of critics on Rotten Tomatoes liked it.
I'd probably give it on a first time watch. I think I'd give it 70.
Mm.
But
7
again,
out of 10.
again, some of the things I like for it, like, are mainly like technical things that I really appreciate, like editing, and again, I like Dustin
Yeah.
Hoffman's acting in it personally. But the movie itself doesn't keep me too engaged. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Pretty disappointed for number 7 movie of all time.
According to what website, though?
According to AFI. And then I was looking at what other movies came out in 1967, and I'm like, I don't know. We got Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, Camelot, and I'm like, those probably should have been up there more than. But I don't know.
Yeah, dude.
It's okay.
Freaking Bonnie and Clyde and Cool Hand Luke, 1967.
Shout out episode 1.
Shout out to cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I do think it's overrated. Although I kind of lean Alquan, where like I like it more than Jared, but I don't love it.
Right.
Probably won't watch
Which I
it
mean,
again.
liking it more than Jared is a pretty low bar to hit. I do
Right.
like the acting. I think pretty much everybody excels in their roles. A lot of the adults and like parents in this film are pretty exaggerated, but I think they play it good enough
Mhm.
for me. I think the sound design is kind of bad. I honestly,
Yes.
all the
Yes.
ADR is terrible. You can
Very.
hear like cuts in the audio. I don't know if that's just an age thing or what, but I could have sworn I've heard better
Hmm.
sounding movies than this. Soundtrack I go back and forth on. I mostly like it, but they do butcher Sound of Silence by adding the full instrumentation, and it sucks. And also them playing the same song for 11 minutes straight is bad. Simon and Garfunkel have way more music you easily could have gotten,
Right. Right.
and you were lazy, and it shows. But also, I love the editing. I think conversations and the dialogue were pretty well written. Um, they do a good job getting you to relate to Ben. I think that was something we all kind of agreed with coming out of college. We all kind of felt lost with no direction, although his situation's kind of weird and contradictory to itself. And I think that's mostly where things I don't like lie. It feels kind of messy, like they're trying to do too much and they don't really succeed at any of it. I think they should have stuck with like sexuality and like shallow relationships versus something meaningful. Because
Right.
I think they had something, the most meat of it that they come closest to like succeeding in is in that theme.
Yeah.
Because you get the relationship with Mrs. Robinson and her daughter, but like both of them are shallow and for different reasons. The relationship with his daughter is essentially just because Mrs. Robinson was like, "Hey, I don't think you're good enough," and he's like, "I am good enough. I'm gonna show you." And that feels like what it's based off of, but he thinks it's real,
Yeah.
and so like there's an interesting dynamic there, and I think they could have hit
Hmm.
it a little harder, but instead they kind of distracted themselves by doing like, "Oh, he's lost with no direction," blah 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 blah. And I think they should have made that the character instead of the plot. And so it's real close to being great. I think it does nuance pretty well. I think Dustin Hoffman plays a nervous boy real well in it.
Yeah.
And it's real close to being a fantastic movie, but I don't think it quite hits the mark. I gave it a 6.6 out of 10.
Mm.
Um, yeah, that's kind of my general where I stand on it.
Yeah. I agree with both of you about Hoffman being really beautifully awkward. Because this was his first major film part, and he hits every single beat like a veteran actor. There
Yeah.
are a lot of very, very long takes in the movie where the camera moves around to first, second, and third, and sometimes even fourth framings, and that's very difficult for any actor to do. And he does, and he absolutely rises to the challenge every time in this movie. I think, yeah, I'll talk about Alquan's stuff first about the technical stuff. There is some great cinematic technique in the movie, especially in the montage editing. I think some of that's really
Hmm.
cool, and the underwater cinematography. Some of that's really cool. But again, like there are better coming of age movies that do better underwater scenes. Booksmart. Um, I don't know. If,
Well, to
uh,
be fair, Booksmart came out 50 years
sure,
after
sure, sure,
this.
sure,
So
sure.
like doing an
But
underwater scene.
but you can get the same like whatever people get out of coming of age movies, whatever pleasure they get, you can get that out of better movies. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like,
Yeah.
even The Descendants. It's not a coming of age movie, but The Nice Guys has my favorite underwater scene uh, with fake Richard Nixon. It's great.
Yep.
But yeah, I love the underwater cinematography. And then Jared, you were talking about the storyline with Mrs. Robinson. Um, yeah, it's weird. It is close to being interesting, and I think the movie's like maybe three scenes of just her, like short,
Yeah.
like give me like I don't know, 10 pages, 10 more pages about like just Mrs. Robinson as the main
Yeah.
character and as the subject of a scene,
Mhm.
because she's the movie's very very close to saying like, oh, this is a pretentious, entitled, ungrateful brat, and she just wants some excitement and to be a decent mom.
Yeah.
Um, and like, uh, you know, yeah, I agree with you. Like if they did that, I would instantly like bump it to a 6 point something or a 7
Absolutely.
point something. Yeah. Um, I
Also,
think
like her relationship with her husband is interesting, and there's a
yeah,
lot of like fruitful ground, but they just don't hit it. They don't
yeah,
like
dude.
commit to like making that. Like
Eh,
even him confronting Ben about like the affair is fucking gold, but like you don't get the payoff as much because Mrs. Robinson, is a
mhm.
little lackluster because they don't quite do her justice.
Yes, yes. And like imagine if they cut that with like the montage of Ben stalking Elaine. Like
Yeah.
that would have been so cool. Like cuz then he obviously comes off as a creep and then comes off as like someone who like oh wow, the hero is in the wrong here, you know.
Hmm.
But I've seen some analysis where people argue that that's the whole point of the movie and that that's what the director intended. Even if that's true, and even if the movie is this supposed clever, great satire of all time, I think what makes like a lot of my favorite American satires, like you know, it's kind of a ridiculous example, but RoboCop, like RoboCop is a really over the top and crazy satire, and a lot of people didn't get that it was a satire. Same with Graduate, but the difference is that I really care about Murphy. I really care about the character and what he's going through, and like, is he a man? Is he a machine? Is he so like I don't, but because I don't care about Benjamin, I think it kills the movie for me.
Yeah.
Um, any other like uh, technical things that stood out to you guys? Because I know that's this is one of the early Mike Nichols movies, and he became a very celebrated director after this. He won the Academy Award for this film, and he went on to do great things. But it's cool to see him this early in his career. Any other technical
Yeah.
things that stand out to you guys?
For me, it was really just the editing. Like the cinematography was kind of just run of the mill for me. I didn't love the zooms, but like I just kind of chalk that up to nine or 60s cinematography. They just like slow moving zooms. It's just a thing for some reason. And so like it was kind of just run of the mill. I don't think it really excelled in anything in particular. The sound design, like I said, was just kind of mediocre. So I really think the editing was kind of just the only technical achievement that I would give it more than average props to.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would agree. The editing is probably the best. I did like some of the really tight shots on Ben, like when they're first in the when they first go to the hotel room and he's like setting everything up, seeing if he wants to close the blinds and all that. I did like that one. For some, I don't know why. Some of those shots I really like, but I couldn't give the exact reason why I like them, to be honest. I don't know if it was like the vibe they were giving me or that like again that like awkwardness, and he overthinks. He thinks a lot. And I think that's what the tight shots are giving me.
Yeah,
Hmm.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the shot of when his dad's talking down to him and he's backlit by the sun.
Mm.
That might be my favorite shot in the movie. Shall we do favorite scenes?
Yeah.
I'm down.
All right.
Did you have any scene you like? Because you gave it a 3.
He
I
had
like the
one,
scene
and I
where he
think you mentioned it
yeah, yeah, yeah.
already.
Well, what the reason I like it is different. When he tells his mom, like, I'm gonna propose to Elaine, she lets out the most primal cave woman scream that I've ever heard in my life. And it's and I literally like I stood up because I was laughing so hard. It was great. Yeah, that was pretty much it. The seduction scene, which everybody loves to talk about, and um it's fine. It's cool. I think maybe just the underwater scenes and that proposal is my favorite. And oh yeah, and the ending, the bus ending is good. Like it's I understand why it's iconic because and I totally forgot about this until I watched it this time, but they cut to the people in the bus looking directly into the camera. And I think that's what makes that scene a great scene, not necessarily the soundtrack or the close-ups at the end, the two shot at the end, but the fact that like it's the older generation looking back at the younger generation and the younger generation looking forward, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. Too bad I'm already out of the movie. Yeah. What else? What other scenes did you guys like?
You know, it might just be that scene. Like, it's not that I don't like any other scene, but if there was a scene where I'm like, ha, that's the one that was like, ha, nice, good job,
Yeah.
movie. It'd probably be that scene. Everything else was kind of like, I feel like I've seen this played out in other films or done better in other films. So that's probably my favorite scene.
I actually had a couple that I liked. The ending, obviously. I like the seduction scene more so. Just Hoffman's performance when he finally realizes what's happening.
Yeah.
I just think it's a cool interaction, and I think it holds up. Real early in the movie, this is actually one where the cinematography also kind of excels. But there's a long take of him like going through his little graduation party, and the whole family's interrupting him, and they're all asking, "Oh, what are you gonna do with your life? What's going on in the future?" The long take following him around is actually excellent. Anytime anybody interrupts him, it like is still surprising, and you like feel like you're in that spot because everybody has. And so I really like that scene too. My favorite scene is actually a montage of him. Like it starts with him laying in the pool, and then it like intercuts him going about his loafing around, and him sleeping with Mrs. Robinson. But it's so smooth, like you can't even tell. Sometimes he'll be on like a chair by the pool, and then he'll like get up and he'll be in a bed. And like for the '60s, you shouldn't be able to pull that off that well. So I really liked that scene. I think it was mesmerizing the entire time. And also Ben telling Elaine that he fucked his mom or fucked her mom. I thought that was a cool scene too. I just it was very well performed. The blocking is great with the mom like kind of lurking in the back too. I just thought it was an interesting dialogue scene.
Yeah. Yeah, those are all great.
Oh, and just real quick, the scene where he takes the daughter to the Taft Hotel and everyone's calling him
Yeah.
Gladstone and everything. That I did like that one as well. That was a fun one.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, montage scene definitely. Yeah, for the editing mainly.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it.
I'm sorry you had such a rough time.
No, it's okay. It's okay. That's why we do the show.
Yeah, it's true.
You can check out both The Graduate and Clueless on HBO Max if you haven't already. Maybe
What
it's
I-
maybe. Oh, sorry, what? What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say what I love about not Clueless. When I watched The Graduate, it starts off with Criterion Collection,
Yeah, dude.
and I'm like, haha, I'm watching on HBO.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, shout out HBO.
Shout out HBO.
They have a lot of movies. A lot more than I thought they did.
They're killing it.
Yeah.
I think they're like a couple like app upgrades away from being my favorite streaming service.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, time to piss off the nerds, huh?
All right.
Cool.
Bad reviews. Do it.
We're talking Avengers Infinity War on this episode of Jared Reed's poorly written reviews of movies that we're watching because it's funny and it makes him laugh and stuff. This one, John C. Wallace. Also, another very long one. And so I might have to skip around. I trimmed it a lot, but it's still looking way too long. So we'll see if it gets a little disjointed in my reading. I mostly picked this one for the title because I knew it might resonate with Jared a bit.
Nice.
Rivals X-Men Last Stand for the worst superhero movie ever.
Oh man. Is it? I think Last Stand is pretty bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's some harsh criticism. I love it. I love it. Bring it on.
John gave it a 1 out of 10, saying the following. Let's start with the zero of the movie, Thanos, aka Bane with no brain, aka the son of Brutus from the Popeye cartoons. This guy's dream is to kill half of the sentient beings of the universe so there are enough resources to go around so everybody's left, for everyone who's left. So basically, he's the Joker on stupid pills. The stupidity of this concept is staggering, but it's nothing compared to the banality of the character himself. Thanos is a guy who shows up magically in every scene with the same smug grin on his face and struts around going, "Ha ha ha, I'm too strong for you, weaklings. Look at my giant arms and manly rock chin." He's like the villain in some 1950s cartoon, and he's more one-dimensional than Paper Mario.
Mm.
And then there are the Infinity Stones. So these are totally unexplainable, super mega powerful stones that have been floating around in pawn shops across the universe for billions of years, and no one thought to get them together before Thanos. Wow, I guess he is a genius. Seems like the history of the universe would really be one long big line of big chin jerks like Thanos who got all the stones together and used godlike powers to bully everyone else. Fortunately, they're superheroes. Well, not really. Essentially, none of them have any relevant powers or cleverness in the movie, and they never do anything that makes any difference. In fact, they're pretty much interchangeable. Mostly, they all just fight the henchmen of Thanos, who are inexplicably unbeaten and even more boring and bland than Thanos. The most unforgivable misuse of a character is Rocket, who has barely any lines, and none of them are remotely funny. The final scenes are like an epiphany of disappointment where you realize the whole movie has just been leading up to the realization that folks who made this are incompetent and have no business making movies. Another perfect example of a franchise created by someone with a vision turned over to a crew of accountants. I would say this movie is complete dog, but I like dogs.
Complete dog is great. I'm gonna use that
Complete
for the next
dog.
review that I
Do it. I honestly am gonna steal that line. It's pretty good. I mostly
Yeah.
picked this one because he touches on a lot of things I don't like about this movie, but he just like misses the mark completely. Like saying the Infinity Stones are inexplainable when there's like 10 minutes of a character blatantly explaining it.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But yeah, I thought it was worth a chortle. Um, yeah, Avengers: Infinity War. I'm a known Marvel critic.
Right.
I'm not like those who are like, oh, Scorsese says superhero movies aren't cinema, so I have to listen to Daddy Scorsese about it. No, they're cinema. It's like pop music being music. It's just fun, and it's meant to be fun.
Yeah.
That said, I don't think Infinity War is as fun or as good as people say it is.
Mm.
I think it's a bit overhyped. Granted, this is also coming from somebody who has not seen all like fucking 23 or however many Marvel movies.
That was gonna be the first
Um,
question I asked you. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And I know that that's kind of the point that it's for those people, but movies should also be able to stand alone. And I think there should be a plot that I should still be able to follow and enjoy. Otherwise, you're kind of just doing the Ready Player One thing where you're like, hey, look at this. Remember this person? Remember this thing that exists over here? And it's just kind of a whatever thing.
Yeah.
There are some things I like about it. CGI, fucking impeccable. I have to give them props for that, obviously.
Yeah.
It's impressive how many characters that they can weave in here. Granted, they've established all of them, so we don't need introductions to every single one. But the way they kind of flow and interchange is incredibly impressive. It's a feat, I would say. The acting is mostly good. Josh Brolin, especially, is a standout for me in this one.
Yeah.
Some of the jokes land, some of them don't.
Mhm.
Most of the fight scenes are great. I think the battle for Wakanda is a little overrated and long, and kind of just people punching little goblin looking asses for way too long.
Right.
But I digress. Iron Man's fantastic. Gamora and the backstory with Thanos is pretty good. Um, there's some decent character motivation with Thanos, although there's like the obvious plot holes, but like he's a villain and he's not going to think through this shit very much. So I can forgive that. And I like that they don't have a happy ending in it. Granted, obviously they're like not going to kill off all of these characters, but they're not afraid to like murder some people you like.
Yeah.
And that's super rare for superhero movies. So I do respect that decision.
Mhm.
Then there's the things that I hated. Every single Avenger immediately gets shit on by everybody in this movie. Like even the weaklings who don't have like the henchmen. I don't want to say weaklings because they're still kind of intimidating, but like they don't even really put up a fight for most of the movie. Especially uh, like the Hulk and the Hulkbuster just gets thrown around immediately, but he still expects the Hulk to do better, which I don't understand that logic. I don't know who a lot of these people are. Like the guy in the beginning who was like, "Oh, let me do this one last time," and he sends Hulk to Earth. No fucking idea who that guy is
Heimdall.
whatsoever. And so like that's also on me for not watching 60 hours of movies in preparation for this one movie.
Yeah.
But fuck you, at least make it a little obvious.
Sure.
Um, the music, I hate. I've always hated Marvel music. Loud doesn't mean good, and it's real loud. It is
Mm.
unbearably loud the entire time, and I don't think it's epic. I don't think it's unique. I don't think it really adds anything.
Yeah.
It's decent. Like this is supposed to be intense, so we're gonna give you something intense music, but it's nothing different or noteworthy, and I don't know why people jerk it off so much. Um, Guardians of the Galaxy lost their charm entirely. I
Mm.
think they don't have any of the wit or charm that they had in the even the sequel. I thought they were better. Um, yeah, and I hate Drax so much. I've always hated Drax.
Damn.
He is insufferable, and so the fact that he's in this movie so much hurts my soul. Um, Thanos, it follows like the same kind of plot points a lot of the time for a lot of the fights. Thanos shows up somewhere, Avengers go to stop him. Oopsies, a little too late, a little bit too weak. Somebody gets a minor injury, and then Thanos dips, and then you repeat. It's kind of that for 2.5 hours. There's some moments where you get some sort of like strategy, which are ones that I like the aliens reference, where they actually have a plan and try to execute it. I fuck with that, but most of the time it kind of falls flat on that for me. I think it's missing pretty much any sort of character development. I think the best you get is Gamora and Thor, kind of, but I also didn't see Thor Ragnarok, so I don't know really where he's coming from there, but I could kind of infer it. And so I like the treatment of Gamora. I think that plot line is my favorite in it. But besides
Mhm.
that, nobody really changes. It's just kind of fodder for no reason there. Vision creeps me the fuck out. Get out of here, Walmart, Doctor Manhattan. I don't need you. I have no attachment to you, and I don't like you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, Mr. Strange. Anything with like
Doctor Strange.
no, I know. I just like discounting his achievement. I haven't seen his PhD, all right? I don't know what he's got his doctorate in.
Oh man.
Although the line, "Oh, we're using our fake names," is a pretty good line from Spider-Man in terms to Mr. Strange.
Yeah.
But his powers are like a loophole just waiting, or a plot hole waiting to happen the entirety of the movie. Like him teleporting people, but he can't from outer space. Maybe there's some logistics I don't know about. The whole time travel, I don't know. There's just a lot more he could have done, and he could have been more useful instead of using his little light show to block some stuff every once in a while.
Yeah.
Overall, I think it's fun fodder, but I think it's not a good standalone film, and I don't think that it has much really to offer in terms of character-driven story whatsoever. And so, for those reasons, and the ones that I've already rambled about too much, I gave it a 5 out of 10. What'd you guys think?
You can go first, Alquan.
Part of me wants to agree. And I didn't think I would at first. I didn't think I
I
would
got one.
until like
Jared's about to lose his mind, but
I
I got
didn't.
one.
No, I don't know about 5 out of 10. Maybe like 6 out of 10. But the only reason why I say that is scenes I thought I liked. I was like, oh wait, no, that was an Endgame, not an Infinity War.
Right.
So then once I like watched it again, I was like, oh yeah, part of this feels like a filler arc in that it is trying to
Yep.
get us from where everyone is beforehand to Endgame. Obviously, there's important stuff in Infinity War you got to watch before you see Endgame, like
Yeah.
Vision losing his Vision piece, his Infinity Stone. But yeah, 6 out of 10. I feel like Marvel uses the word war too lightly.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely don't recommend this movie to people who haven't seen the preceding titles. But I think to the ones who stick around, it's super rewarding. And a lot of people have talked about Scorsese's thoughts about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I don't blame him. But like at the same time, I have a very like my definition of cinema is literally just sound and picture and time, and that's all I care
Yeah.
about. So to me, it's all cinema. But at the same time, I understand like you want something that stands alone. Um, but I don't think there's anything wrong with Marvel trying to change that. I think
I don't think so either.
to me this feels like the season finale of the biggest TV show ever, and I'll get to my thoughts about like Thanos and all that stuff. But to me, the way I read Infinity War and the way I watch it is the hero's journey to failure. Every single choice that the heroes have made in previous movies was, oh, I can save the one hostage and I can save the world, and they succeed. They do it every single time, right? In Civil War, Captain America saves Bucky and stops the big thing, the big plan, but then the Avengers fall apart. But in the first Avengers movie, Captain America saves the hostages and he kills the alien and nobody dies. And so, they're used to coming out on top. They're used to the idea that you can win without trading lives. They say this, I think, 3 or 4 times in the movie. We don't trade lives. And they learn that you can't beat Thanos this way, because Thanos is more than willing to trade lives. He has his 4 closest friends, his 4 closest right hand men and women who all die in one day, and he just keeps going. He has a line in Endgame, "I am inevitable." And I feel that. I feel the threat level from him in this movie, and the heroes don't have that. Um, Time and time again, they fail to make the necessary sacrifices to beat Thanos. Peter fails to kill Gamora, but you understand why he does that. It's because Gamora is the first person to love him since he left the Ravagers. The Avengers fail, specifically Wanda fails to sacrifice Vision. Loki fails to sacrifice Thor. Gamora fails to sacrifice her sister Nebula. And all of these choices that the heroes make are frustrating when you're watching this movie, because it's like you could have just won right there. But when you watch when you watch all the other Marvel movies, you completely understand, and I completely understand. And I think and that's why Thanos wins. He wins because he is all about the sacrifice to win. And so I very disagree with I very much disagree with whatever their name was, the user that gave our review today.
John C. Wallace.
John C. Wallace. Yeah, I love the idea of having a villain as like a tertiary protagonist. The movie is there is like one big thing that I would say can be completely cut out of the movie, which is Thor's journey. Because it's if you watch Ragnarok, it kind of undoes what Ragnarok does, which is frustrating to me.
It's interesting that I liked that part, not having seen Ragnarok, and you hated it because you had seen
Well,
Ragnarok.
I don't hate it, but I do think it's unnecessary in the movie. Like it could have been like a 2 hour, 17-minute movie, or they could have devoted the rest of that 15 minutes to something better to make the rest of the movie better. But anyway, I love that Thanos is the glue. I think Josh Brolin's performance is the best mocap performance after Andy Serkis as Caesar.
I would watch that
Andy,
now.
Andy Serkis as Caesar in Planet of the Apes. I think he's that's my other best mocap performance. I think it's excellent CG work. I can see the pores in his face when his face moves. His conflict squaring off with Gamora, like Jared said, is awesome. He throws a moon at Iron Man. I love that shot so much.
That part is dope.
It's so good. He's smart, he's sincere, and he's charismatic. I remember the like people who were social media always has people like this, but like, oh, the villain was right. But I think people only have those conversations, and I think they're totally wrong. But I think people only have those conversations when you have a compelling villain. I think this stuff with Vision, I agree with Jared. Vision is one of my favorite characters in the comics, and time again, even in this latest WandaVision show, Marvel has completely dropped the ball on what Vision should be and what Vision represents to the team. The setup is too quick. I love the scene of them getting rescued by Captain America, but that's only because of Captain America. It's not even because of them. I think I love the sense of urgency in between the Battle of Titan and the Battle of Wakanda. The stuff with the faceless alien dogs is boring, but I do like when they fight Thanos' henchmen. I think that some of especially a shot of Bruce like finally resolving to use his own strength and then doing the freaking backflip over the big guy, attaching the rocket to the big guy and shooting him up into the force field. I thought that was pretty sick. Um, I don't think it's the best Marvel movie. I would not put it in my top 5. I don't think it's overrated either. But I understand why Jared finds it overrated. I understand why Alquan finds it overrated, and
I didn't even know it was highly rated, to be honest.
Yeah. Well,
people love it.
when it came out, everybody was I couldn't shut up about it, much less.
But I also thought that was because that almost happens with a lot of Marvel movies. So I thought it was a combination of that, and obviously this is Infinity War and Endgame are the 2 movies we've been waiting for. I mean, I haven't seen every single Marvel movie, but I have caught up. So I mean, I was excited when I saw it, but I think rewatching it, I was a little lackluster, and I think there were some scenes that I felt could be taken out. And I mean, I agree, either replaced with something else or just have that time just taken off. But
Jared, you mentioned something that kind of like bothered me a bit too. When you mentioned that people keep failing to make sacrifices, which I like that as a concept, but the fact that it happens with every single character over and over and over, it just feels like I'm watching the same like scene just keep happening for 2.5 hours at times.
Right. Yeah. I understand, and it's not something that you can really fix about this movie, because that it is the movie. And if you're not attached to that sort of thing, like, I totally understand where you're coming from. I think the I think where that theme pays off for me, though, is in the when Thanos has the dream after after using the gauntlet, like knocks him out, and he sees Gamora as a kid, and she's like, what did it cost? And he's like, everything. And I was like, oh man, hell yeah, that was dope. And I love the cinematography when Thanos is alone. Like, honestly, like every single shot of him, it just looks so cool.
Yeah,
Thanos definitely does help the movie. I would say some of my favorite parts are definitely Thanos. And Jared, you mentioned this. I love when heroes lose. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I really love
Something
I really love
different.
good villains, but something about maybe it's because a lot of media doesn't do it enough for me. But
Right.
I love watching heroes lose sometimes. I'm like, yeah.
Mhm.
And it happens a lot in anime, which you
Oh
and I
yeah, I
are
think
super. Yeah, you and I are super used to that, super
yeah.
saturated by it. But
So when I
then,
see it like in American live action, I'm like, hey,
yeah,
good job.
They're doing my weeb shit.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, no,
And
I
like
love.
to give myself some credit, I have seen like some Marvel movies. I'm not going into this completely blind. I
right.
feel as though have seen enough that I should have enjoyed this. I pulled up the order of like the MCU movies, and
Okay.
I can straight up go down the list if you want of what I've seen and haven't seen.
Well, you can say what
Um,
you've seen or what you haven't. I mean,
yeah. Okay. There might be more that I haven't. We'll see. I haven't seen. I haven't seen any of the Captain America like solo films.
okay.
Um, I have not seen. I saw the first Thor, but I haven't seen any after that. Um, I did not see the second Ant-Man, if that's important. He wasn't even in this, so
No,
it
it's
wasn't
important
really
to end.
important for.
It's you should. I mean, it's important. I would say watch that one maybe.
Yeah,
It's
I haven't
important
seen
to
Endgame
Endgame.
either, so like
Yeah,
this left such a bad taste in my mouth. I was like, I don't really need more. Like I'm not invested. I don't really care. I'm happy knowing that all these people died, and then that's the end of the MCU. That was my ending to it. Um, I also
yeah,
haven't seen any Spider-Man with Tom Holland. I've seen all the Tobey Maguire, unfortunately Andrew Garfield, and Spider-Verse, but it seems like the Tom Holland ones are the most relevant to this. But I do like know the character enough, I feel like.
yeah.
Haven't seen Doctor Strange, have no desire. I don't really like him. Sorry, he's my drummer in my fictional band, but I don't give a shit about him. Um, and yeah, I think that's it that I haven't seen.
Yeah. That's
So
those are all like kind of the most important
the
ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
oh
really,
really?
you
Okay.
probably no wonder you probably
Well,
didn't.
yeah,
I will say, like, if you've seen the Guardians movies, those are pretty important. Thor
yeah.
Ragnarok is pretty important.
Definitely Ant-Man 2 and Ragnarok. I would also say.
Okay.
Well, Ant-Man 2 takes place after, or it takes place. It came
It
out
kind of
after Infinity War.
never mind. I won't. I
Yeah,
won't.
yeah,
This
I know what
yeah.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're
On
saying.
my list, it says that it says that it comes out after Infinity
Which you are
War,
right. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's interesting. I'll say for the Spider-Man one, you don't need to have seen the second one to watch this because it takes place after Endgame. But the first one kind of establishes, it starts with Captain America: Civil War and then Spider-Man: Homecoming, where Tony and Peter have like kind of a father-son relationship,
Yeah.
and so
And like I still kind of get that from
yeah,
Infinity War. I don't buy into it as much, so the Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good. It doesn't hit me as hard.
oh
But
yeah,
like I still get their relationship, I feel like.
yeah. I think for me, like, because I saw it, it made me cry the first two times I saw it. So,
Hmm.
That scene hit.
but I also cry easily in movies. It's not that's not a huge accomplishment on. It's not a
that
huge
hard.
cinematic accomplishment. What were you gonna say, Aqua?
I was just gonna say, damn. I don't know. I think one of you already said it, but yeah, no, I agree mostly with everyone's saying right now. Yeah, definitely watch those movies if you can, and watch Endgame. Give it a chance.
Yeah, is Endgame worth it? Like, should I, as somebody who didn't really care for Infinity War, is it worth my time?
I personally like Infinity War more than Endgame because Infinity War has a greater sense of urgency, but Endgame is kind of it's kind of like when finales split into two parts. Like
Yeah,
you kind of it is the finishing move in this story. Like you understand why because Doctor Strange makes the choice to give him the time stone,
yeah.
and then you understand what.
Can I guess? I
Go for it.
assumed it was because he goes in the future, he sees which one's like the one
Yeah,
thing that's successful. I assume it was the version where he does that.
yeah. So everything that Doctor
Okay.
Strange saw plays out in Endgame. So
Okay.
yeah, it's It's interesting. It's interesting because there's also some like moral stuff that happens in Endgame that people like have a problem with it now that the TV shows are out and they're
Mm,
saying like, oh, the consequences of Endgame are worse for the world. But it's I don't know if you
yeah.
didn't like this, you probably won't like Endgame. Um, but you know, it's Marvel. The way the MCU is like to each their own. And you know, I don't I I so for the audience in the group chat, I was saying like I was kind of talking shit like, oh, I love these movies. We're gonna debate you
We're all too
guys.
civil to
I was
like
gonna
really get
I know,
because we're all like, you guys
yeah
have.
I
yeah
kept saying, I kept backtracking on my Clueless.
dude. Like I was I was like saying to my friends like I can't wait to destroy Jared and Alquad. I'm gonna be so but like I like you guys so much and I
I know. I'm
understand
like,
and
I
I
can't
know
tell
your
Jared
tastes. I
Clueless is
know
horrible.
sorry what?
I was gonna say I can't tell Jared Clueless is horrible. I can't look at his face and tell him that.
No.
I can look into those 3D glasses and say that it's horrible.
You can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. But
It's horrible.
all right, cool. See, we're still friends. We're still friends. This is how debate shows should be. This isn't even really a debate. We're just kind of talking.
No. We
Um,
should have some like debate episode. I think it'd be funny to like try to have
It
like a
would.
structure. We
dude,
could bring somebody in to moderate, or like one of us can.
we'll like bring up each other's like um personality and like talk shit. Like like really insult each other.
We could make PowerPoints and shit. For this
Here's why I hate the
Oh,
costume
man.
design. You know.
But I want to say too, for me, like I kind of grew up um being the only Marvel Comics reader in my circle of friends. Everybody was kind of into DC and they were like, "Oh, Green Lantern can beat everyone." And I'm like, "Well, Green Lantern's a dick." But with Marvel, I like that it's uh I always loved that it felt like real people in real places in extraordinary situations. And to me, that's what the MCU has excelled at. Even though m- even though the vast majority of their movies are, you know, maybe not vast majority, the majority of their movies are average to below average. I I still love that they excel at that quality. And because they excel at that quality, they have movies like the first Avengers movie, they have movies like Guardians 1 or shoot. A lot of people love Thor Ragnarok. I'm okay with it. But people resonate with those movies because they feel like it's their friends and that it's happening to their friends and that they're like imagine you know I this is the first time on screen that I saw Spider-Man die and
Yeah.
I'll never forget the freaking just the raw like silence when when the credits started rolling like did we just see what we just saw and so yeah the Infinity War is deeply flawed because of its inherent qualities but I think I did I ever give my score
No, I don't
okay
think so.
sorry 7.8 anyway
Okay.
yeah like you know it's still I still enjoy it for that reason did we
Yeah.
yeah
I do think this was also peak movie pass. And so I paid maybe $1 to see it. And so I can't really say it was a waste of money, but I don't think it was worth my time in the moment. Should we do favorite scenes? Because there are scenes that I like out of it. I don't completely hate this film. I gave it a
yeah
5. That's a pretty neutral score
yeah
overall.
yeah
Um, yeah.
I'm interested to hear what you like about it
Yeah. I like the opening scene with Thor and Loki. I think it sets up Thanos' power well. I think it's all I need to know about that theme of people not willing to make sacrifices. Loki is kind of a dope character. It's actually one of the few shows that I'm interested in watching from the MCU. Is Loki? I don't know if it's worth it or not. Maybe you guys can guide me on that.
definitely watch Endgame before you watch Loki
Okay.
yeah
um, Yeah, I like that scene a lot. I like the scene with like the Doctor Strange saw trap. and the ensuing battle that follows, because it's one of the few moments where the motherfuckers make a plan, and there's actually some sort of strategy instead of just like, oh, he's coming this way, maybe we should try to beat him up when he gets here. Um, and so I like that, and I like that the Spider-Man's quirkiness shows, because I like that as a character. The scene in Voromir is fucking gorgeous.
Yeah.
I love the way that planet looks, and it's a heartfelt scene, and I think it excelled in every way. I don't know who the Darth Maul looking ass is, but besides that, I fucking love that scene. Um, and then Thanos and Kid Gamora at the end. That brief little scene together was pretty cool too.
Nice.
I would say it's funny. A good amount of them are like the comedy scenes. Like I love the scene when Tony, Spider-Man, and Galaxy Squad's like all in the ship, and they think each other works for Thanos like that. I think that was good.
Yeah.
I love the scene. I really like the scene with Kid Gamora and Thanos, but not at the end when he's like doing the whole little perfect balance like scene. Something about that scene really resonated with me because it really shows you like his mentality and all that he's trying to do.
Yeah.
When really he could have just doubled life resources. If resources is the problem, just make me more resources. But no.
Who's gonna work all this infrastructure with us? All the resources are gonna disappear regardless.
But no, I love that scene, and I really love the fight scene at the end against Thanos with Team Tony and Spider-Man and all that. Like that was done. That was choreographed really well. That was choreographed really well to me.
Yeah.
Those are probably my favorite scenes, like off the top of my head.
Yeah, the whole battle on Titan, I think, is balls to the wall insane, and I like it. A lot of the tricks that Doctor Strange uses get established in his solo film, like the mirror wall and the portals and the wires.
Yeah, I'm also not a huge Eggs Benedict cucumber snatch fan. I've never really loved him in anything. I've liked him, but
he's definitely like over fetishized by the internet for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Everybody's like, oh, he's so hot. He's not hot. He's just white. He's fine.
Yeah, he's like a mouse that got too tall.
he is really, really good in a lot of movies. I don't hate him as an actor for sure. But what was I going to say? My favorite scenes. Yeah. Battle on Titan, throwing the moon at Iron Man like slowly running out of materials with his nanites, and it just gets more and more desperate. I love it. I love. I also love the scene on Vormir and pretty much every scene with Gamora. Like Zoe Saldana, so good, like so freaking good in literally every movie, even her bad movies. She's awesome. Or the bad movies that she happens to be in. She's awesome. I don't want to shit on her.
Is Darth Maul on Voromir an established character? I don't know. Like, does that motherfucker have a name or anything? Or...
So he's the Red Skull in Captain America: First Avenger. He uses he tries to use one of the Infinity Stones, and then it ends up being too much power for him, and he and that's where he ends up.
Yeah, because to me, I was like, I can't tell if this is somebody I'm supposed to know, or if it's just like all I need to know is he tried to grab a stone a while ago and now he's on this planet.
Yeah, think like a super Nazi. That's kind of what that character was, and then he died. And came, what else? I talked a little bit about the Thor scene with getting the hammer. Like it's visually cool, but to me, like the rest of the movie has like this forward momentum, and that scene's just kind of like, wow, look how strong he is. This guy's really strong.
This guy's really strong.
What's his power level?
Which is fine. Which is power level. Which is fine. I talked about Captain America's entrance. I remember cheering. Like I almost stood up when that happened. That was great. And even though he doesn't really have a whole lot to do in this movie, I still get the essence of what Captain America is, and I think that's due to Chris Evans's great handle on the character. Um, when he he doesn't get a single good hit on Thanos. The only one who cuts him is Iron Man. But when he's holding his fingers open and they cut to Thanos and he looks like a little bit impressed, but then he just knocks him out. I think, oh man, that's so cool. It's almost directly ripped out from the comics too, because when they fight Thanos in the comics, it's literally just Cap is left and he just charges straight at him, and I love that about the character. I think just his willingness to do what he believes in no matter what, I think is really cool. I mentioned throwing the moon out. That was dope. Yeah, I think that's it.
Cool.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say about Infinity War?
Not really. I still stand. I'm not convinced. I still stand by my statement. But
Yeah.
I also know it's not for me. So
right.
I feel like you're like a real life Thanos because you don't like these heroes like at all. Like when you were like you were like listing everything about the heroes. I was like, you're Thanos. I don't know why you don't like the movie. I feel like the movie was made for you.
I think I just didn't like that Thanos got a scratch on him. I just wanted him to.
Oh man.
No flawless victory.
Dude, he has such a great. What's the great? All that for a drop of blood. It's so good. So good.
That fight between Iron Man and Thanos is pretty cool too. Just because like the ingenuity of Iron Man's suit is like gotten so impressive since the first one, where it's like he can fly and shoot lasers and that's it.
Right.
And now it's a lot more creative, which I respect. But like I know he's not gonna win. Like it's obvious he's not gonna do shit. There's no tension.
Well, cool guys.
It's an episode.
You can watch Infinity War on Disney Plus. And then, like I said, Graduate and Clueless are on HBO Max. Thank you again to Mr. Alquan for coming to the show.
Thank you for having me. This was great.
Yeah,
this was great. Yeah,
you
I expected this podcast to end with them, you guys being like, can't come back on here, hating on all these movies.
No, dude.
It was less heated than I thought it'd be.
Yeah, but I'm glad.
I thought a little fire would get started and we'd all kind of jump onto it, but we remained civil. Look at us go.
Yeah, I was hoping you guys really, really loved The Graduate. I don't know. I was kind of looking for it.
It is a boring movie.
It is a boring movie. To be honest, I thought I was gonna love The Graduate. Yeah. Like the first few minutes, and then I was like, no, never mind.
Yeah.
You dropped it for me.
You're also our first guest to have just their finger out of focus. It's great. It's great.
Yeah. First injured guest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Maybe.
My back hurts sometimes. If they take pity on your injuries, where can they find you to let you know?
Find me on Instagram, The Alquan, and follow my YouTube page, dropping a short film soon. The Films, yeah.
Okay, you got a release date that people should watch out for?
I do not give release dates.
Can you give us like a teaser about Pillow Talk?
Yeah. Tell us about it. What's it about? Pitch it.
Pitch
Sell
it?
the
All
people.
right.
You don't have to give anything away that you don't want.
Just like a log line.
Yeah.
No, it's just it's an experimental short narrative that I wanted to try out. Just to not to give too much of the plugs. I really just want people to watch it and try to figure it out themselves. But really inspired by old video games. I was playing a lot of JRPGs in 2020, so a lot of inspiration from that. That's what I'll say. A lot of inspiration from that. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I hope
he's
that
a talented
energy.
boy, so watch out for that for sure.
Oh no! Stop.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, like your visual style is so like singular compared to like everybody at that school. Like,
yeah,
I always talk. I like the first. I liked a lot of our friends' short films from that class, but the first one that I recommend my friends watch is not even my own. It's Todd the Snake.
Oh, dude.
Yep.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yo.
I appreciate that, really. I do appreciate that, and I'm glad. It's nice to hear that sometimes because I'll like watch my own stuff and be like, I don't know, it might be a little too off, but it's always nice to hear that. Yeah.
Dude, I was hanging out with a mutual friend of the podcast, Sabrina.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
Hey, shout out Sabrina.
And and we were just nerding out about your films for like 15 minutes. I'm not even gonna lie, because I was like, "Oh, we're recording with Alquan tomorrow." And it just went on a whole tangent where we were like talking about how fucking great Todd the Snake was, and she was like, "Oh, he also made this one about allergies that was tight as fuck. You should watch it."
Yeah. That one's in the works. I just made a draft of the script that I actually am satisfied with. So yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Keep an
That
eye out.
That is hilarious. It's nice to know people are talking about me.
Of course.
On what we got? You guys were like eating out or something like that, right? I think I saw in your story.
Yeah, she was like visiting Oregon for some reason. But she's like, "Hey, do you happen to live here?" And I was like, "I do happen to live here." And so it was like hung out. It was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm supposed to see her actually next month because she's coming down to SAC for a bit. So I was like, yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I wanted to, because she loved all the movies we were talking about today. So I was like, if you're passing through, come in and just yell at them about how good the movies are and then just leave and it'll be hilarious. But the timing didn't work out. So sorry, we missed out on a cameo.
Yeah. I would have loved to hear someone who actually likes The Graduate.
Talk to AFI.
I'll call customer service after this probably. Be like, who's making this list? Is it updated? Or you guys just made it once and never went back?
Yeah. I don't know. I think of our maybe I think I remember talking about liking The Graduate. But I think that's the only.
Seems like a movie she'd like. It's horny. Anyways, we've been just kind of chit chat. This is after episode talk here.
Yeah.
We love you. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
Yes.
Follow us. Follow Alquan. Listen next week. We probably got a good one. I haven't recorded it yet, so I can't say for sure. But
We haven't even decided what it is yet.
No.
Yeah.
It's going to be the best episode we've ever had. I guarantee it.
In respective universe.
Oh man. Alrighty.
See you.
See ya.
See ya.